Nelson, you can tell us the process, the petition. Imefikia wapi bwana? We are losing our assets as a nation. Tumefikia wapi?
Thank you, Amerix, for this space. So I will just give a short update on this JKIA process that we began with Wakili Makano. I was hoping he will be here, but since he's not here, so we sent a demand letter to them asking them to make available all the documents of this deal that he's, it's just a takeover of JKIA. There's nothing like PPP on this deal. And we've given them 7 days, so it will elapse sometime this coming week, and we will serve them with a petition, which we are currently working on. So the petition is basically to stop this process because it's illegal. They haven't followed the PPP Act, and they have contravened so many laws in the Constitution, and this thing should not be going on. And I was speaking to Wakili Makano today, and he was very positive that we will stop them at their game. So I just want to give also an update on the information I've received regarding this JKIA heist. And one of the key info that I received was about a company by the name ALG Consulting Group. So ALG is a company contracted by KIA. And as you know, consulting groups are basically companies that are contracted by organizations to help them in deal making and things like this, just to conduct maybe feasibility study. So ALG came in and was actually paid in advance 160 million. I posted on my timeline, if you go and you will see. So they were paid 160 million in advance so that they can fast track this deal. But ALG, in their submissions and in the documents I have seen, also in their informal communications that I was able to see, they were saying there is so many red flags in this project. They don't understand why KA would still go ahead with it. And one of the red flags is so there's a report called the CSIA report, and in this CSIA report, Adani wants the Kenyan government, and I will read what they actually wrote to the Kenyan government, to KAA. They say the concessionaire will carry out social impact assessment. Concessionaire is basically the Kenyan government through KAA. They will conduct an social impact assessment and due diligence on the project area and conduct consultation with the affected people before commencement of the project to reduce social impacts and risk of opposition. So they were already aware that there will be some kind of public uproar. They go on to say that the contracting authority, in conjunction with other government agencies, will be responsible for mitigating and managing any public opposition, protester actions, and associated site risks. So they were very much aware of what they were doing, and they had anticipated that when this thing goes public, that it's going to cause some kind of unrest, and they were warning the government that when this comes up, they need to be ready to deal with, this kind of unrest. But what they did not anticipate is that it will be before they conclude the deal. So this is what they never anticipated. So let me go back to ALG. ALG raised another red flag. They said that the capex refund that Adani Group wants after 30 years, they want basically a refund of the $2 billion. So in the previous documents that I had gotten, they were saying that they need about $1.8 billion to run the project. But after, I saw other documents that said they needed $2 billion now to run this project. And you need to understand that they're all talking about IRR. IRR means internal rate of return. So basically, they're saying in 30 years, they will require their capex amount back with IRR. So meaning in 30 years, 2 billion now will be probably equivalent will not be $2 billion, which we are seeing now. It will be more than this. And also, the ALG group raised another red flag. They were saying, how can Adani Group ask for 18% equity on this project for JKIA? And they also said that on normal circumstances, people charge maybe 8 to 15%. Actually, it's 21%, but in the report, they had toned it down to 18%. So it doesn't really make sense why Adani would say they want 18% of JKIA after 30 years. Basically, in normal circumstances, it's either between 8 to 15% equity based on the negotiations. And the last thing I want to say is that in the ALG final report, the feasibility report, they raised a major issue on the procurement process. And I will just read what they highlighted. In accordance
Nelson,
with, yeah.
just a minute.
Yes,
You can hold on your submission. I need the PS to complete whatever she was saying so that she can leave, and
Okay.
then you can continue from there. So kindly, Madam PS.
Can someone go ahead?
Yeah, Edgar.
Okay.
Perhaps I can. My name is Mahanu, and just to give my contribution, I was supposed to pick up from where Nelson had highlighted a few issues concerning the JKIA takeover case. I wouldn't want to belabor myself and go over the issues that he had already mentioned. But what people need to understand is that whereas we're being told that there's a company from India that has been contracted to upgrade and develop our national airport, what is really happening is a complete takeover. And I will summarize it very briefly so that everybody understands. What is happening right now is that a PIP model of renovating and developing the airport has been submitted and has been approved. Now, the reason why we have a PIP model on major projects that involve governments is because there is always that special need to exploit or to explore that option, because direct competitive bidding does not offer the options. That means you explore this option in a case of a uniqueness that is contained in. Now, the reason why I call it a takeover and not a leasing per se, as it has been painted, is because the funding of this project is going to cost about, when the proposal was put forth, they said that it's going to cost about $2.047 billion. But after the evaluation committee, they reviewed that amount to $2.05 billion, which means they increased the amount. But let me even shock you. Whereas they say that this is a public-private initiative, the whole project is being funded from the current revenue that is being earned by JKIA up to a tune of 53%. Now, they say that they are going to run the project for 30 years, after which they are supposed to hand over. You see, the model they're trying to paint is like that one that we've seen working with the expressway, whereby a private investor comes in, does an infrastructure or a project, manages it, recovers their initial capital, then hands over the project to the government. But what is happening here? This company is not putting even a single shilling into this company. And this is how they are doing it. 53% is being funded by the current revenue earned by JKIA. Then 33% is going to be funded by a loan which they want to take using the the title deed of the land that is owned by JKIA. And then they are telling us that 14% is going to be funded by an investor. And we all know, I'm sure you can all understand that if someone in the Kenyan context talks of an investor, we know what that means. But more shocking is this. At the end of the process of the 30 years, when they have recovered their 2 billion, which they have allegedly invested at this point, they are supposed to be paid again 2 billion at the end of the 30 years. So which means they allegedly put in 2 billion, which in the real sense they never put it. And at the end of it, they're going to recover 2 billion US dollars in a span of 30 years. Then at the end of the 30 years, they will demand again to be paid 2 billion. So that's 4 billion US dollars. Then they will own a lifetime stake of 21%. So clearly you can see this is someone that is domiciled in this country, trying to secure their financial freedom for their children and perhaps the fourth generations to come. So it is a very serious issue that everybody needs to keep on looking at it. We are compiling the petition, and by next week we should have filed the petition, and we'll keep on sharing and updating Kenyans the status of the petition. Obviously, by the look of the materials that have been placed before me, it is highly likely that the court is going to stop the whole process so that a complete audit can be done and Kenyans can understand. And so Kenyans, this is just but one of the issues that is happening in one of the parastatos. So as a way forward, we also need to start demanding for a cleanup of most of the state corporations in this country. And that's where actually the problem is, because government offers services to Kenyans through state corporations. Recently, I saw the cabinet secretaries being fired and then being rehired again. What we need to understand is that based on our constitution, most of these cabinet ministers, cabinet secretaries, much as they have a lot of power, as it can be seen from where we sit, the chief accounting officers of most ministries are permanent secretary, principal secretaries.